Hi, I'm Dr. Allison Alford, and I want to talk to you today about using your conflict resolution style as a team player and as a leader. So, you are most likely thinking conflict resolution as something that comes into play every once in a while, or you're thinking of a very specific conflict that you have in your life right now. But overall, learning how to resolve conflicts, diffuse difficulties, be a peacemaker, these are skills that will help you all the time in business and are certainly sort of the essence of greasing the wheels to move you ahead in business. So you may have marketable skills on paper, but these types of people building skills, the ways to build people up, to help teams work together efficiently, and to move projects forward, these are the things that will help move you ahead. Because others will know you as a team leader, a conflict resolver, and a peacemaker. So you don't have to be shy, unassuming, or a doormat in order to use these skills. But you do have to be thinking of the entire team, the entire project, and how everyone can do their best work and use their best, most creative attributes in order to succeed. And that's a real team leader right there. So let's talk about three different ways, three different strategies or tips that you can use in your workplace. So the first one is about meetings and agenda setting. Now, perhaps you lead a lot of meetings, maybe you only lead a few, but in general, we have times when we are leading meetings or we have been called to make a big presentation at a meeting, or we have group times when we're together, but we're not really thinking of that as a meeting. So I'm here to tell you that one of the best ways that you can prevent a conflict before it gets started is with your agenda setting. So agenda setting starts with providing a written agenda for a meeting or a group time or a group hangout or a brainstorming session. So the best way that you can do this is to put a calendar item out there using, Google Calendar, etc. People agree to the meeting, so it's on their plate. It's on the schedule. They know when it's coming, and then you provide this written agenda that people can look at before they come to the meeting. Now, on this agenda, you should have not only all the things that you want to cover, but you should also have people's names who are part of the group so that each person knows when it's their turn to speak. But that also helps people know when it is not their turn to speak. And that's great when you have that one person or two people who are always talking and giving their opinion about everything. It becomes clear when their window is and when it is not. I also recommend leaving extra space on that agenda for people to write notes and responses. Okay, so you want to actually print this agenda and bring it to the meeting, even if others have read it, even if perhaps you tend to do things using smartphones and computers. When people are sitting in a meeting, they need a place to write down or jot down ideas or even just doodle so they can stay awake. And bringing the agenda and welcoming everyone to the meeting and starting the meeting and leading the meeting shows everyone whose meeting this is. So conflict can immediately be diffused that way, in one sense, because there's a clear leader. And when there's a clear leader, you, who's taken charge of the event, other people don't need to show their power and clamor for power because it's clear that you have legitimate power in this meeting as the person running the meeting or the presentation. Okay, so when you are leading the meeting, as I said, greet people, thank them for coming, greet them by name, have a little chit chat at the beginning. You don't just want people to randomly come and sit down and you're not even talking to them. So, in a way, think of welcoming people to your event. This sets up very interpersonally that you are in control, that you are in charge, that you have allowed and invited people to come to your venue. And so you're setting up some power differences, but not for the goal of wielding that power over everyone, but rather for setting up clear boundaries for what this meeting is about. That should help it move faster and also um, avoid some of the pitfalls or problem areas. Okay, and then while you're doing this meeting and this agenda, and you have this agenda and everyone can write their ideas on this piece of paper that you've given them, and you go around the room and you hear people's ideas. And when people are speaking, write it down, write it down. When people are talking and you write down what they are saying, they feel heard. That person feels like you value their ideas. Whether or not that idea moves forward or not is, based on the content and context of that suggestion. But the person will feel included and heard when you write down his or her suggestions. Now, let's say you have a person who really won't stop derailing this meeting and making things difficult. What you can do there is say, these are all great ideas. I'd like to reflect on them a little bit more. Can we meet again in 2 days and we can um, take this to another setting and we can figure out some of these details at that time? Because remember, a lot of people at this meeting don't want to listen to that person's ideas, but you don't want to embarrass or shame this person or exclude this person. So you are validating his or her concerns, writing it down, and suggesting an alternate time to meet to discuss it. Um, and then at the next meeting, you bring up the resolution, if any, so that it comes back into the team arena. Finally, after meetings are over, it's best to send a debriefing email, either with particular ideas that were discussed or resolutions for each agenda item, or simply a thanks for a great team meeting. And don't forget, if these team meetings are very, very long, that it never hurts to give a break. Rather than people just going in and out whenever they need to, it's sometimes nice to just have a formal 5-minute stretch break if the meeting goes for more than an hour. Okay, so let's talk about scenario or setting number 2, and that's the email argument. Okay, so the email argument is when you get an email that has some difficult content, someone's upset with you, or your team is upset with each other and they're going back and forth via email. And so the first tip that I have for you is when you get an email of someone that's angry or upset, or if you're thinking of sending an email that's angry or upset or even fussy, right? Even a little bit of awkwardness can go awry in an email chain. So if you get any of these emails or you're thinking of sending one, my first tip is to pick up the phone, right? So when we are on the telephone, we can give a lot more context with tone. We can be lighthearted. We can say, yeah, that wasn't a big deal. I just thought I'd ask you about it while I was thinking about it. We lose a lot in tone in an email, and that can cause conflict, unnecessary conflict. So it's also helpful to use the phone because we don't want to trap ourselves where we've written down something negative or uncomfortable and it's in print forever. So we want to be sure that we think about what lasts in an email and in print. And sometimes we get angry or upset and we just shoot off a message. It is there for perpetuity. It is there if a lawsuit comes up about some other related thing and that's in the email, and it could be embarrassing. So we want to remember that telephone or face to face are great ways to handle conflict. And you can video chat, you can go in person if that works. And don't forget that before a phone call or any meeting, you can make notes to yourself and you can use those notes for what you want to cover so that you don't lose anything or miss out on anything. And it always helps us to feel less nervous. So sometimes people avoid a conflict on the phone or in person because we're worried we'll be flustered. Take notes. Take the notes with you. Take a note card. Take an agenda that was just for yourself, and don't hesitate to use it because it doesn't make you look weak or silly. It makes you look prepared and that you care enough and are concerned enough during that discussion to have brought some ideas or some notes. Okay, if this is a group email, then set up a conference call. Send out an agenda item on the calendar and invite everyone and set up that conference call and get on the conference call and be a bit of a gatekeeper for that because emails that fly around are upsetting to the people who are involved, and they're frustrating to the people who think that the conflict is silly or petty. So, one of the best ways to get past it is getting everyone together. And sometimes a call is better for a group resolution because everybody can still save face. When we get together in a meeting, a group meeting to reconcile a problem, it may feel like a mediation or a lawyer's office or something. And it can be intimidating if one person seems to feel ganged up on. So consider a conference call for groups. And don't forget that a little bit of candid talk and laughter can go a long way towards smoothing a situation. And after any type of difficult phone call, you always want to send a debrief email afterward. You want to avoid texting anything that, anything more than what time or what's the address, because we lose so much in text and, of course, in email. And save your emails for more formal discussions or long lists or sending attachments like an agenda and little back and forth conversational things. Bring them to a place where conversation is easier, which is the phone or face to face. Okay, so if you have trouble getting everybody on the same page, don't forget to use those calendar agenda items. Um, Maybe people don't turn their stuff in on time or they don't want to get on the conference call. Well, by sending out agenda items, you can put things on people's radar and on their calendar. And it's in one way, you can't say you didn't see it or didn't know about it. But it also gives somebody a chance to decline if they say, well, I'm busy at that moment. It's always best to just get these kind of things on the books. Often we have conflict based on people not being able to meet up or talk or get together at the right time. And we send massive amounts of emails trying to find a time when we could just use a tool or an app that would help us settle that without so much interpersonal discussion and back and forth. And then it becomes just business, not personal. And there are times when we need to take the personal out so that we don't feel upset about somebody's curt, short emails versus receiving a calendar item. Okay, so let's talk about scenario or context number 3. And that is when you are having a brainstorming session or a brainstorming meeting as a team. So if you're the team leader, you are in charge of a brainstorming session where lots of people are together and they're trying to solve a problem. This may or may not be different from the meeting that we discussed earlier with an agenda item, but essentially in brainstorming sessions, even if it's just 2 people, the point is to access many people's creative ideas. So if you are in charge of that team, or you're simply the leader of that one event or meeting, then it is really important that you show everyone that everyone will be heard and everyone will get a turn. So again, we're back to that idea that you're the gatekeeper, okay? And a gatekeeper truly is like saying that you open the gate for Bill to be talking, but Bill keeps talking and talking and talking, and you can see that over here Sue would like to talk, and so at some point you say, those are really great ideas, Bill. Hang on one sec because I can see that Sue has something great to add. And you close Bill's gate and you open the gate for Sue to talk. And in doing so, you have helped Sue not be rude to Bill. But as the leader, Bill doesn't feel like you were rude or shut him down. You have simply kept the meeting and the brainstorming session on track. And so someone has to do that. If you have a brainstorming session and nobody is doing this gatekeeping, it's chaos and it's frustrating. And generally, the quiet ones leave and feel very dissatisfied, and they feel like other people railroaded and steamrollered the entire meeting. And often we have the steamroller people feeling like, why didn't anybody else speak up? Because steamroller people don't know how to pause and allow others to speak up. So that's your job as the leader. And that's one key way that you can dissolve conflicts or prevent them before they've started. And remember, you set the tone of the meeting, and your tone tells others how to act and interact. and you set the expectations. And when you act like a leader, people will follow that and they won't feel like you are being mean or rude or shutting them down. You're simply facilitating something. So it's also important to remember if you are not in charge of the brainstorming session and you are simply a team member, that you act like one. You are not in charge. You are not meant to run the show. Even if the person running the show is doing a very bad job, very poor showing, you sit back because it's that person's win or loss. It's that person's lesson to be learned that day, or skill building, right? We have to sometimes do badly in order to do better. But if you take over, everyone loses. You have to show that you can be a team player. So if you are not meant to be in charge, don't put yourself in charge and take over and be the steamroller, okay? So instead, you can support the leader of the meeting with great eye contact, nodding, and write it down, write it down. When we write down other people's ideas, people feel validated, and you can do that as a team member and not only as a team leader. So remember that power struggles can derail a team, and so we often need to be humble enough to be on the team and not always in charge of the team, even if we can see that we would do it better. Not every day is a day to show that you're the best at what you do. So remember that when you have legitimate power, maybe you are the boss, but you're sitting in on a team meeting, you don't always have to wield that power. You don't always have to be the boss because you have the legitimate power, you have the title, you can sit back a little bit and let others show you their great ideas because when you have power, people want to impress you and they can feel taken down by you. So it may be the right scenario to take a one down position or to enact normalizing behaviors where you say, oh, well, that's okay. That happens to me too. And when you provide a situation that others feel comfortable in, that's when the good creativity will come out. And we can avoid conflict from people feeling powerless, from people feeling railroaded, steamrolled, taken advantage of, unheard, dismissed, um, um, disintegrated. So remember that it matters what your power position is and what your position is during the meeting, which are these ways that you're going to act. But ultimately, when you show that you care most about the success of that meeting, of the team, that authenticity will always shine through. You don't have to show that you're the smartest person in the group every time you're in a group together. So if you'd like to discuss these or any more skills or strategies that you can use in the workplace, then please contact me, DrAllisonAlford at gmail.com. So today in this video, we talked about agenda setting at your meetings, taking the email argument to the phone or in person, and lastly, how to be a team player and a gatekeeper during brainstorming sessions, how to listen, be an active listener, and lastly, asking questions. So it's very important that we ask others questions, and we'll talk more about that in the next module. Thanks for being here. Again, you can contact me, DrAllisonAlford at gmail.com or goodtalkconsulting.com. Thanks so much.